we go. Good evening, everybody. We're very excited to have with us homegrown talent, Shneur Notik. But you're not in Chicago. Where in the world is Carmen Diego? Where are you now?
We are in Palmer, Alaska.
What? That's crazy. Now you're sideways. Any way for you to flip your phone sideways so we can see you properly? That would be helpful.
All right, we're going to flip our phone around.
There we go. Look at that beautiful, bright sunshine. And who is that with you?
This is Ira Toal. He is from Leitrim, Ireland.
Leitrim, Ireland. And what in the world are you doing in Alaska, Ira?
Came to this camp that Zalman wonderfully invited me to.
Okay, so let's back up. We want to hear about Ireland. We want to hear about Alaska. We want to hear about the traveling Jewish teen camp. So let's get a little background here. Tell us, first of all, when did this trip, this idea, this summer program, not just for this year, but when did you start this program? Tell us about its development and how you wind up in Alaska with a friend from Ireland.
Oh wow, that's those are some great questions. This is quite an involved story. I was first counselor for the first time. I'd done a camp in Pinsk, Belarus.
Okay.
So I done that when I was 16, and it was quite the experience. Being able to be a counselor for a group of young boys. I think I was the counselor of the youngest bunk. They were 7 and 8 years old. Many of them came from difficult backgrounds. Some of them were orphans. And it was something that really left a deep impression on me. I think mostly as the camp completed, I saw just what kind of impression it made on the boys. And that led me to continue working in camp in general. And I'd gone on to be a counselor in Chicago. And I always loved the Chicago camp, exactly the homegrown boy. I think when I was a camper, I was also a camper in Gan Yisrael, in Chicago. And back then we had not just Chabad boys, but boys from all different backgrounds, especially many Russian immigrants. And I loved that camp as a kid. And I tried to copy that in the sense with a lot of trips and a lot of fun, and to be able to incorporate so many different backgrounds at the same time as campers, as friends. And that's something that we really do here in camp. So after coming back to Chicago to be a counselor here, we opened up the teen camp, which then morphed into the travel camp for older boys.
So what year was the first year you did travel camp for the older kids?
In 2011. Was the first
so
time
10 years already. You've been there 12, 11 years. Crazy. Okay. So
yes,
give us a sense, how many kids are in camp this year and how many counselors?
We have different, we had done several trips this summer. This is our second trip. We had done one out west previously. That was a 3-week camp, which had 20 boys and 8 staff members. And this trip, being that it's in Alaska, so it's a bit more rugged, shall we say. We have 15 boys and 8 staff members once again. Our staff range from like the trip directors, the head counselors, and then kitchen staff, chefs, if you will. The logistics of providing kosher food out in the countryside in Alaska are immense, and the chefs, it's their job to ship the food, source the food, to get it to Anchorage, and then to keep it fresh throughout our trip. They put it in freezers along the way. They have these really big coolers, and they actually go and they have all the cooking equipment within their truck, and they make breakfast, lunch, and dinner for us. We're able to have a hot meal 3 times a day.
Wow, crazy. Crazy indeed. So Ira, you're living in Ireland. How did you find out about this camp? Are you involved with Chabad in Ireland?
Not much really, because I'm more in the countryside of Ireland. But last year, no wait, Zalman came to my home 8 years ago,
He
and
just showed
met
up
my
in
family.
Ireland and said, "Hi, I'm here."
He came to Ireland 8 years ago and met my parents and my family. And then a couple of years back, my big brother Rourke went to this camp, and I don't really remember when this was, but he did. And then last year I tried to go, but my passport stuff just didn't work out. So, but this year I got an emergency passport and I was able to come.
So you flew directly from Ireland to Alaska? Like, just give us your itinerary. How'd you get from Ireland to Alaska?
Well, I went on the West Coast trip as well. So I went from Ireland to Munich, Germany, and then from Munich, Germany, all the way to Chicago. And then then the West Coast trip started. Went to West Coast and all Phoenix and all them.
So have you ever
And
been
then
to the United States before?
no, this is my first time ever going to the United States as well. First time traveling by myself.
Oh boy, how old are you?
16.
16. How do you like America? Is everyone as rude as you always thought?
Spectacular. It's a
Oh,
lot of heat though. Very hot.
Very hot. So how long have you guys already been in Alaska?
Maybe a week or so.
A week or so. And how much longer is the camp trip in Alaska?
They're 2 weeks altogether, but I think maybe one more week.
No more week. Okay, I want to show a quick video clip here. And Zalman, if you could tell us the story about this, we'd love to hear it. Here we go. Let me make it full size. Everybody, I hope you can see this at home. Come on. Come on, you got to work. Come on. Come on. It's not working. Zalman, can you hear me? Shneur?
Yes.
Okay, while it's warming up, let's get a little more information. So you got 15 kids. We met Ira from Ireland. Where are the rest of the kids from?
They are from throughout the US, as well as Mexico, the UK, Canada, truly depending on their, where their family is from. And some of them are coming to the US just for this trip. Some of them have been here for several months for the summer and are joining this before they return back home.
Okay, well, unfortunately, the video doesn't seem to be cooperating with us, but it's a video about a little bit of unplanned adventure that you guys experienced while you were in San Francisco and your van was parked. Can you tell us that story?
Oh, absolutely. We had in mind to end our journey out west. We've been through 9 states, and it was over the course of 3 weeks, mostly visiting the national parks in Arizona and Utah, and then Yellowstone, all the way across to Oregon, and then Reno, Nevada, and then to California. And the crowning achievement would be to go to the West Coast, to go to the Pacific, and to bike across the Golden Gate Bridge, which is absolutely beautiful. San Francisco is just a really beautiful place, and it's interesting to enter a city after being in the countryside for so long. We've been out in the country for 2-3 weeks, and this would be like our first city trip. And we biked the bridge, and we had the staff help the boys onto their bikes, join them for the trip, and some of them actually stayed back to be with the vans and the valuables. And as the boys were returning, it's actually quite a strenuous trip. It takes like 2-3 hours to bike up the bridge. It's quite steep, then all the way across and back. And as the boys were returning, the staff went to the bike outfitters to help the boys dismount and take off their helmets, make sure everything was returned properly. And at that moment, when the vans were left unguarded, if you will, the vans were broken into very, very quickly, almost professionally done. It's the thieves struck maybe within 30 to 60 seconds
Oh my.
to break into 2 tour vans, smash the windows and grab any backpacks and belongings that they could reach from those windows. And just incredible. We returned perhaps 5-7 minutes later, and there were passerby that had videotaped the whole thing. I think at their own personal peril, if you will. I mean, the attackers, there were 3 or 4 of them, and the ones who were videotaping were right across the street, very, very close, videotaping it from their cars or from the street. And they waited till we showed back up just a few minutes later to show us the video footage and try to help us, call the police, figure out where our belongings might be. And we called the police. They came right away. They're very helpful. They helped document everything. And
oh, wait, hold on a second. I think I finally got it working. Give me a second here. Hold on. Let's give us here we can get the story. Okay, here we go. Hopefully everyone can see the
country trip ending in heartbreak for Chicago-based group visiting San Francisco. Thieves last week smashing the windows of a van belonging to the Chicago Jewish teens camp. They made off with $10,000 worth of items, including clothes, passports, cameras, and electronics.
We came back to our vehicles, and suddenly, instead of the unity and the love and that feeling of camaraderie, we saw the polar opposite, that destruction.
Well, some of the stolen items were recovered in a nearby park. Police say no arrests have been made. The camp director says he is hoping that insurance will cover the theft.
Look at that. Okay. Oops. So that's the story there that I was looking for. I'm glad we got that to work. So what's happened since then? Ira, you still like it in America?
San Francisco, maybe not too good, but the rest of the trip has been amazing.
Okay, well, we're sorry you had that experience. So, Rabbi, you've been doing these trips for over a decade, over 10 years. We don't want to take too much of your time. I'm sure you guys want to have fun in Alaska more than talking to us. We really appreciate your time. Really nice to meet Ira and to hear about this fantastic, crazy trip. Can you tell us, like 10 years in, what's been the long-term impact from campers who started out and maybe went 10 years ago? What can you share with us sort of a long-term form?
The original group of boys I'm still in touch with. I stay in touch with the campers throughout the year and throughout the subsequent years, and really try to follow them as they continue on in life and see where we can be helpful. Many of them have come on trips the following years. Several of them have been on 4 or 5 trips.
Wow.
Some of them have gone on to become staff members.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really, it's beautiful. I'd say in the general sense, every trip is like a family. And when the boys come out of the trip, they truly do feel this sense of family, this band of brothers, if you will. And it's beautiful to see. I think the crowning achievement, especially that we're in the 3 weeks, we talk about Avos Yisrael, is the Avos Yisrael, the bond that's achieved between the boys. They come from different backgrounds. Some of them, had gone to Jewish schools in the past. Most of them have, are coming directly from public school, and oftentimes it's their first Jewish experience. And then as they experience their Jewish experiences and get a chance to learn about who they are, some of them go on to Jewish schools and become more religious. Some of them have even become more Hasidic and have fully adopted themselves as Chabad boys. Some of them have gone on to become rabbis.
Oh boy.
And created Chabad families of their own.
Beautiful.
It's truly, I think it's a blessing and an honor. And it gives them a certain sense of satisfaction and joy in their personal lives. I kind of gotten the opportunity to see how that helps them personally. But I think if I want to look at the general, storyline, I think the most beautiful thing is that the boys 8, 10, 11 years later are still the closest of friends.
Nice.
Yeah, they might have different, storylines. Some of them are religious. Some of them are completely not. Some of them will lead the services on Yom Kippur with beards.
Wow.
In Hebrew.
Wow.
And others may not actually join services at all, even on Yom Kippur, because they began life with a secular background, and they've made some strides and they feel connected to their Yiddishkeit, but they haven't necessarily changed completely. And yet they're happy and excited and look forward to camp reunions that we do. And they come together as the closest of friends, and that's beautiful.
Wow, what a power. Ira, give us a thought. What's been your favorite part of the whole trip besides being on our show tonight? I know this has been the highlight. You're going to tell all your friends back in Ireland about it. But besides for this, what's the second favorite part of this whole trip been?
Of the entire Alaska trip?
Yeah, to give
Or-
us anything. We're not picky. Give us something to get a feel for it.
Okay, so in the West Coast trip, probably my favorite part was when we went boogie boarding on the last day. So we finished off with a blast.
Nice, exciting. Wow, fantastic. Okay, what about in
And-
Alaska? What have you seen there?
The Alaska, ooh, there's been many good parts, but I don't know which one to choose.
Okay. All right. And you're making good
maybe-
friends.
Yeah, I'm making amazing friends here.
Well,
So
that is
many cool
that's-
guys.
That's the best part, really, as the rabbi said. It's fantastic. Okay. Anybody else got a question they want to jump in on? Or else we're going to say goodbye to Shneur and to Ira. Thank you, 1,000 thank yous for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to hearing about this trip when you guys come back. So safe travels, no more of that other kind of excitement. And we wish everyone a good night. Tomorrow night, we'll be learning some mimer. We'll send out the recording. Tonight's class was dedicated to Nishmas Bilha Bastevora Abraham, Shneur, and Ira. Really a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.